Ethan felt his heart pound in a crescendo of excitement and trepidation as his spacecraft, the Ad Astra, pierced the pale lavender skies of Xyra Prime. The planet shimmered far below in breathtaking splendor, its emerald continents rising from seas of deep azure, its coastlines fringed by silvery dunes. Distant storm clouds, tinted a subtle shade of copper, meandered across the horizon. Through the narrow cockpit window, Ethan could glimpse the swirling bursts of energy that marked the exotic weather patterns of this mysterious world. Never in his life had he felt so far from home, and never had his life's mission felt so vital. He had come on behalf of Earth's Interplanetary Alliance, a relatively new body formed by the major powers of his home planet. Earth was still recovering from centuries of conflict and resource depletion, and the Alliance needed new partners, new friends, and new knowledge. They had learned of Xyra Prime from fragments of transmissions and from analyzing the cosmic flotsam that drifted through Earth's sector of the galaxy. These transmissions hinted at an advanced civilization on a world unknown to human eyes, a civilization that might share with Earth the secrets to sustainable living, or perhaps the means to restore equilibrium to ecosystems long ravaged by exploitation. As the Ad Astra glided into a gentle descent, guided by beacons from a hidden alien city below, Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. He was a xenolinguist and cultural envoy, carefully selected for his empathy, adaptability, and willingness to learn from the unknown. Above all, he cherished the principle of building bridges, not burning them. Now, as the ship's landing thrusters engaged, he felt a gentle jolt. The craft touched down on a plateau of emerald grass, ribbons of fluorescent moss swirling in purposeful patterns across the alien soil. The ramp hissed open, and Ethan stepped outside, the crisp air tingling against his cheeks. It smelled faintly of pine and salt, mingling with the sweet undertone of exotic flora. A broad sky stretched above him, stars twinkling overhead in the daytime like a faint mosaic of distant souls. He wondered if Earth's sun was among them, somewhere, a tiny point of light, unrecognized, overshadowed by the infinite cosmos. Gently, Ethan closed his eyes, took a measured breath, and steeled himself for first contact. He had been briefed on this planet's known data. It was inhabited by a society advanced in fields of genetic manipulation, energy production, and cultural arts. The transmissions that Earth had studied suggested not only an advanced scientific culture, but also an aristocratic social hierarchy, one that prized beauty, intellect, and a certain aloof sense of pride. Despite his open-minded nature, Ethan could not entirely banish the sense of unease in his heart. How would they receive him here? Would they be hospitable, curious, or scornful? He soon found out. For figures emerged from the shadows of a rocky arch, their lithe silhouettes gliding across the bright moss. Their posture was regal, their bearing self-assured. Clad in form-fitting garments that shimmered with a mosaic of pale, metallic colors, these alien beings exuded an otherworldly grace. Even from a distance, Ethan could sense their radiance. His first impression was simple awe. The four women, for so they appeared in general shape and countenance, were undeniably striking. Each had luminous skin tinted the faintest shade of pearl, their hair woven into intricate braids or flowing with a softness reminiscent of starlight. Their eyes were large, framed by a subtle shine reminiscent of jewels. Their features were reminiscent of human ones, yet every subtle angle of cheekbones, jawlines, eyes was elegantly refined. He had rehearsed the universal greeting taught by the Alliance, a gesture meant to transcend linguistic boundaries. With measured composure, he placed his right palm over his heart, bowed his head slightly, and offered a warm smile. For a tense moment, he wondered if they would know this greeting or respond in kind. The group of four alien women merely exchanged glances, their eyes gleaming with interest, perhaps even amusement. One by one, they stepped forward. The leader, who later introduced herself as Lyara, possessed a commanding grace. The golden filaments in her silvery hair reflected the sunlight in a dazzling dance. Her robe, embroidered with swirling patterns of emerald thread, floated about her tall figure as though the breeze itself bowed to her presence. When her gaze met Ethan's, it was a bold, unflinching gaze, as though she beheld a curiosity from across the galaxy that she had only half believed existed. Standing beside her were three companions, Mara, Sari, and Reyna. Mara's hair was cropped shorter, highlighting her sharp, sculpted features. The slightest curve of a smirk played upon her lips as she regarded Ethan. Sari, by contrast, appeared younger, her large eyes reflecting childlike wonder. Reyna seemed the most analytical, looking him up and down as if she studied a specimen, her slender fingers tapping lightly at a device attached to her forearm. Though they spoke in a language unknown to his ear, Ethan's universal translator, an earpiece tuned to a broad range of frequencies, caught a faint trickle of meaning. With flickering signals of uncertain clarity, the device tried to keep pace with the alien language. Eventually, their speech, once a melodic cascade of unfamiliar syllables, began to shape itself into a form he could understand. Lyara addressed him, her tone measured yet tinged with haughtiness. "Stranger from afar, your craft has set foot upon Xyra's soil uninvited. Though we recognized your signals, we did not believe your kind would have the fortitude to traverse such distances." She glanced back at the other three. Mara's smirk grew, and the corners of Sari's eyes crinkled with suppressed laughter. Reyna gave a polite tilt of her head. Over the soft whisper of wind, Ethan detected a thread of mockery in Liara's voice. The universal translator, imprecise though it was, suggested a tone of condescension. Fighting the surge of embarrassment that rose within him, Ethan bowed again. "My name is Ethan Reed, envoy from Earth, a world unknown to you yet not far by cosmic measure. I come in peace, I come to learn, and if you are willing, I come to share knowledge." Liara's golden lashes flickered in the cool light. "Earth," she repeated, as if tasting the word on her tongue. "We have heard of your transmissions. We have glimpsed your rudimentary crafts drifting in the cosmic expanse. We were uncertain if your race possessed the intelligence or the resilience to travel so far." Mara interjected, "He is puny, is he not?" Her words were accompanied by a soft laugh, the sound crystalline yet tinged with a mocking edge. Reyna allowed her gaze to settle on Ethan. "He is smaller than I expected," she said, "though not as primitive in expression as we were led to believe." With an almost theatrical flick of her wrist, she continued, "At the very least, he's polite." Sari let out a murmur that might have been a giggle. "He's not entirely unpleasant to look upon." Struck by a surge of conflicting emotions, Ethan reminded himself to keep calm. He had known from the start that bridging cultural divides would be an uphill battle. The people of Xyra Prime, particularly the aristocratic class, had a reputation for pride, for setting themselves above all others. There was no sense in allowing their mockery to bruise his own sense of duty. He resolved to keep an open mind and remain respectful. He ventured politely, "It is my hope that we might learn from each other. Our technology has brought me here, but there is much we do not know about your society, your science, your culture." Lyara regarded him coolly. "You have traveled a great distance to ask for instruction, it seems." She paused, letting her words hang in the air as though to see how he might react. "We shall entertain your request, but only if you prove yourself worthy." A sense of relief washed over Ethan. There was a faint possibility of forging some relationship, however tenuous. "Thank you," he replied, his voice brimming with sincerity. And so began the cautious dance of introductions. They led him through a sweeping meadow dotted with tall, luminescent trees, their leaves shimmering with a faint bioluminescent glow. Beyond the meadow, an elegant city awaited, woven from gleaming silver spires and arching causeways formed of intricately grown crystal. The city seemed alive, each tower resonating with an energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. As they passed through the city gates, Ethan could sense the hush that fell over the inhabitants. Their eyes, also large and bright, followed him from behind windows and balconies carved into the crystalline architecture. Some whispered, some stared openly. He was Earth's ambassador, a curiosity, an interloper. Lyara guided him through shimmering corridors that rose in twisting arcs. On each side, large panels displayed unearthly vistas, swirling space phenomena, alien landscapes, and the gentle portraiture of Xyra's people going about their daily lives. Gradually, Ethan's translator struggled to catch each word the four women exchanged in hushed, rapid speech. His tension grew when he recognized the words inferior, small-minded, and amusing curiosity. Yet, despite their haughty manner, they did not turn him away. On the contrary, they brought him to a grand audience chamber crowned by an open dome. Sunlight, tinted a faint magenta by the protective atmosphere, streamed upon them. At the center stood an elevated dais carved of a translucent substance, upon which several elders of Xyra awaited. Tall and slender, robed in shimmering fabrics that caught the pinkish light, they regarded Ethan with expressions of measured interest. Lyara lifted her hand, signaling Ethan to stand behind her. She turned to the gathered elders, her voice ringing in the chamber. "We bring an envoy from Earth, bearing greetings and requests for knowledge exchange." He arrived unannounced, crossing countless light years in a small craft. Although he is of a species we find lacking in certain aspects, he has shown respect and calm in his approach. One of the elders, an older male whose hair was silver with streaks of violet, leaned forward. Our records mention the transmissions from Earth, a young race, plagued by conflict and environmental ruin. Do they come to beg for solutions to their self-inflicted woes? Ethan felt a spike of urgency. He must speak, or risk losing this chance. Stepping forward, he addressed the assembly. In many ways, you are correct. We have struggled on Earth with challenges that threatened our planet's vitality. Yet, in these past few decades, we have begun to unite, to heal, and to seek wisdom beyond our limited borders. We come not merely as beggars. We come in peace, offering what knowledge we do have in exchange for guidance. A quiet murmur passed among the elders. At last, one of them nodded to Lyara. Very well, we shall allow this envoy to remain on Xyra Prime for a time. As a demonstration of our open hearts, you four, Lyara, Mara, Reyna, will watch over him and glean what you can of Earth and its technologies. Should we find that they hold any promise of interest or novelty, we may entertain an exchange. Mara's lip curled slightly, as though she found the entire proposition dull. Sari tilted her head, intrigued. Reyna maintained her neutral mask, though behind her eyes was a hint of scientific curiosity. Lyara stepped forward, crossing one arm over her chest in a gesture of acquiescence. As you command, she said. Thus concluded the formal introduction of Ethan to the seat of power on Xyra Prime. Yet, as they left the chamber, he could practically taste the tension in the air. His presence might be sanctioned, but acceptance was far from guaranteed. Over the following days, Ethan was housed in an ornate suite perched atop a slender crystal tower. Delicate drapes of pearlescent cloth separated rooms, filled with furniture seemingly grown from living material. Doors slid open at a touch, lights flared into life with a soft hum, and invisible climate controls maintained a gentle, refreshing breeze. Each morning, the four alien women arrived to escort him through various parts of the city, showing him laboratories, libraries, and public forums. They introduced him to aspects of their culture, albeit sometimes with a mocking edge. Often, they would speak rapidly in their own language, forgetting or ignoring that his translator struggled with nuance. Time and again, he felt the flick of their barbed comments, criticisms of humanity's warlike past, of Earth's environmental short-sightedness, of humankind's crude physicality. Despite all that, Ethan maintained his polite demeanor, humbly noting Xyra's achievements. He observed their zero-emission energy systems, marveling at how they harnessed the planet's geothermal and atmospheric charges. He pored over their texts, translatable now thanks to advanced scanning devices that worked in tandem with his universal translator. He saw architecture that pulsated with living energy, genetically engineered by Xyra scientists to grow in specific shapes. Step by step, he strove to show genuine appreciation rather than mere curiosity. For in truth, he did appreciate it. Every day felt like a new revelation. As the days slipped into weeks, a subtle change began to take root in the dynamic between Ethan and the four women. It started with small gestures. A nod of approval from Lyara when Ethan demonstrated an understanding of Xyra's cultural norms, or a thoughtful question from Reyna about Earth's quantum computing systems. Mara's sarcastic humor, once biting, began to soften into a playful sort of banter. Sari, who seemed the gentlest among them, grew fond of asking about Earth's oceans, its flora and fauna, and the dreamlike diversity of life that thrived there. Ethan, in turn, uncovered deeper layers to their personalities. Lyara was a figure of respect, carrying herself with the pride of one entrusted to represent Xyra in all its glory. Yet behind her regal facade, Ethan sensed the burden of responsibility, a longing for genuine exchange rather than hollow flattery. Mara, though sharp-tongued, possessed a fierce protective streak, her mocking barbs a shield to hide her fear of vulnerability. Reyna's calm, analytical manner masked a burning thirst for knowledge, a hunger to push the boundaries of science. And Sari, her laughter was the product of a boundless curiosity. She was gentle because she chose to see the wonders of life wherever they blossomed. Several weeks passed in a blur of cultural and scientific exchanges. Ethan demonstrated Earth's breakthroughs in quantum entanglement communications, showing them how humanity had begun bridging vast cosmic distances using entangled beacons, that defied conventional constraints of space-time. The Xyra scientists countered with demonstrations of their biosymbiotic technologies, showing how they cultivated living structures to form entire metropolitan centers. An uneasy respect began to form, though it was peppered with skepticism on both sides. One quiet evening, a turning point came. Lyara invited Ethan to a private gathering in one of the city's sky lounges, an open balcony set high above the swirling thoroughfares of crystal streets. The hush of the alien night, punctuated by drifting orbs of pulsing light, created a strangely intimate atmosphere. The four women were present, along with a handful of other city notables. Fine, delicate flutes of a translucent beverage were passed around, and the group engaged in a round of toasts, accompanied by subdued music that shimmered with haunting, flute-like melodies. Ethan found himself in close conversation with Lyara. She looked out over the cityscape, her gaze lingering on the twinkling lights below before turning to face him. In the shifting glow of the lanterns, her regal features seemed almost tender. "Your presence here has caused quite a stir," she began, her voice low and melodic. "Some say we should not waste time on your people, that you are too far beneath us. Others, particularly the younger generations, argue that your resilience, having come so far, demands our respect." Ethan let out a quiet breath. "And what do you think, Lyara?" She studied him, and for the briefest moment, he saw a flicker of vulnerability in her gaze. "I think that we have prided ourselves for centuries on being the pinnacle of galactic evolution. We have shaped our own biology, our own environment, and mastered the forces that bind atoms and living tissue alike. But perhaps," she paused, uncertain, "perhaps we lost something of the raw will to survive, to create against all odds, that your race seems to possess." He nodded. "We Earthlings are survivors. We've had no choice. Our mistakes forced us to change, though it was nearly too late." Her lips curved into a soft smile. "Yes, so I have learned." It was a moment that brought them closer. Similar conversations sparked between Ethan and the others. Mara teased him as always, but now her teasing held warmth. Reyna asked deeper questions about Earth's moral codes, intrigued by the paradox of a species capable of both great violence and breathtaking compassion. Sorry, wide-eyed, asked him to describe Earth's legends and myths, enthralled by the idea of heroic tales from a planet she had never seen. As time wove these threads of mutual understanding, something else began to manifest, an undercurrent of attraction. Whether it was the novelty of the unknown or a genuine resonance of hearts, Ethan began to sense subtle changes in how the four women behaved around him. Their laughter grew softer, yet more intimate. Their gazes lingered longer than before. Sometimes, while explaining some aspect of Earth's culture, he would notice the gentle brush of a hand on his arm, or see the flicker of curiosity in their eyes that went beyond mere intellectual inquiry. He, in turn, found himself captivated by their elegance, by the alluring way their eyes shone with a faint inner luminescence. He admired their intellect, their grace, and, yes, their physical forms that seemed sculpted from living art. The blossoming of these emotions was complicated, for he was a single representative of humanity, and they were the dignified aristocracy of a proud planet. Yet emotions rarely bend to the dictates of political or diplomatic constraints. One evening, after a particularly fascinating lab demonstration in which Ethan showed how Earth's embryonic technology harnessed cosmic rays for energy, the group found themselves walking along the outskirts of a bioluminescent forest. Thick vines and pale flowers glowed with living light. By then, the sun had set, allowing the night sky to bloom in all its cosmic splendor, the stars mirrored by the gentle luminance on the ground. "Do you ever miss your home?" Sari asked softly, her eyes reflecting the glow of the strange flowers. Her voice seemed to rise in gentle echo, the forest canopy alive with chirping creatures that Ethan couldn't quite see. He nodded, inhaling a slow breath. "I do, but it's a mission I believe in wholeheartedly. If by coming here, I can help bridge our worlds, help Earth find a better way, then I must be grateful for the chance." A hush fell as the four alien women studied him in the subtle, dancing lights. Then, unexpectedly, Mara spoke, her tone stripped of sarcasm for once. "You are braver than we gave you credit for, Ethan." He blinked, startled by the openness of her statement. Thank you, Mara. A slight quiver in her lips betrayed an unvoiced sentiment, but she said nothing more. A stirring breeze rustled the leaves overhead, and in that moment, Ethan felt a delicate shift in the air, as though fate was turning a page on their collective journey. As they continued along the winding path, the conversation turned to more intimate topics: the concept of family, personal dreams, the fleeting nature of life. Lyara spoke of her lineage, the weight of her name, and how it was expected that she would carry on certain traditions. Reyna, usually so rational, revealed that she once harbored a youthful dream of exploring the galaxy herself. Sari gently confessed a longing to see more of the cosmos, a hunger that grew with every word Ethan spoke of Earth's achievements and diversity. Mara, normally brash, admitted that her outward demeanor sometimes served as a shield to keep others at bay. Ethan, for his part, explained that he had no living parents, having lost them in a planetary crisis decades ago. He spoke of how that shaped his desire for peace, for forging alliances, for ensuring that future generations need not suffer the same losses. The women listened intently, sometimes exchanging glances as though seeing him in a new light. By the time they returned to the city, the night's hush was tinged with a collective awareness that something special bound them together. An empathy born of shared vulnerabilities, shared hopes, and the bridging of cultural chasms. The inevitable shift from mutual respect to deeper affection came quietly, without fanfare. A few nights later, Ethan was in the city's grand library, an expansive structure of floating platforms laden with shimmering archives. He was researching Xyra's historical conflicts, rare though they were, hoping to glean insights into how the Xyrans had achieved lasting peace. Unexpectedly, Lyara entered, her footsteps echoing in the near-deserted hall. Clasped in her slender hands was a small sphere of pinkish crystal. She approached Ethan and paused, her regal bearing illuminated by the ambient glow of floating orbs overhead. "You study our past with great fervor," she remarked. Ethan smiled. "I find that understanding the past is often key to building a better future." She acknowledged this with a slow nod. Then, taking a seat beside him, she pressed the crystal sphere, which flared to life in a swirl of soft light. An image manifested in the space before them, an archive of swirling text and imagery, possibly a record of her personal lineage or family history. "I want to show you something," Lyara said quietly. "This is my grandmother, who once served as an envoy to a distant colony beyond our star. She oversaw a cultural exchange that prevented a terrible war. I always admired her courage." Ethan watched as a regal figure, bearing a striking resemblance to Lyara, appeared in the projection. "She must have been remarkable." Lyara nodded, her voice thoughtful. She believed in forging alliances, even when others doubted the value of unity with those they deemed inferior. Her gaze fell upon Ethan, lingering for a moment. The air between them felt charged, a fragile hush in which unspoken feelings could materialize. He felt his heart quicken, sensing that she was on the verge of something far more personal. She leaned closer, her expression searching. "Ethan, I have mocked you before, belittled you alongside my companions. Yet, in these weeks, you've shown a resilience I could not have anticipated. You possess a warmth I have rarely seen, even among my own people." Her words resonated with longing, the subtlest crack in her proud facade. Without thinking, Ethan reached out, placing his hand gently atop hers. Her skin was cooler than a human's, and impossibly smooth. She did not pull away. Instead, she let out a slow breath, her alien yet entrancing eyes meeting his. "In time, we may yet prove we are not so different," he offered softly. Lyara's response was not with words, but with a gentle tilt of her head, bringing her lips near his. And in that shared warmth, the union of two hearts separated by light years became real. Their kiss was tentative, a step into unknown territory for them both. Yet it carried the quiet hush of star-strewn nights and whispered promises of possibility. The following days took on a dreamlike quality for Ethan. The subtle affections that developed between him and Lyara seemed to open the door for deeper connections with Mara, Reyna, and Sari as well. The social norms of Xyra's aristocratic circles might have seemed strange to an Earthling, but on Xyra Prime, relationships were often fluid, shaped by shared intellectual pursuits, emotional resonance, and the complexities of personal bonds rather than rigid traditions of exclusivity. In their culture, close companionship could form within small groups, bound by mutual respect and a sense of shared purpose. Bit by bit, Ethan found himself drawn into conversations with Mara in which her once harsh tone turned playful, culminating in moments where she would brush back a lock of her silvery hair and give him a teasing smile, eyes gleaming with mischief. Reyna, meanwhile, began sharing her scientific passions with him at deeper levels. Their nights were spent in hushed discussion, culminating in tender embraces that transcended words. As for Sari, her curiosity extended beyond mere talk of Earth's legends. She joined Ethan in starlit walks, culminating in confessions of how she yearned to experience Earth's winds, Earth's oceans, Earth's wonders through his eyes. The bond that formed was strange, complicated, and breathtakingly strong. It defied the standard earthling notion of monogamous courtship, and Ethan, initially overwhelmed, soon found that each of these four women resonated with a different part of his soul. Lyara's regal kindness, Mara's spirited intensity, Reyna's intellectual devotion, Sari's gentle warmth. In those weeks, it was as if he was living four different romances simultaneously, each weaving into the tapestry of his life, each recognized by the others without jealousy. For on Xyra Prime, love was not seen as a zero-sum game. Of course, not everyone within Xyra's society approved. Whispers circulated about the envoy who had grown so close to four aristocratic women, once so proudly dismissive of Earth. Some found the situation scandalous, others merely perplexing. Yet, for those who truly mattered, the elders who valued knowledge above rumor, Ethan's presence in these women's lives was seen as beneficial. An alliance forged in science and cultural exchange might unify their worlds in ways few had predicted. In the midst of this blossoming connection, an event arose that would shatter the fragile calm and alter the course of Xyra Prime, an environmental anomaly. Dark clouds gathered across the horizon of the planet for days, swirling with an intensity that threatened catastrophic storms. The Xyrans had technology to mitigate such events, but something was different this time. A cosmic fluctuation in the planet's magnetic field, as though an external force had disrupted the natural balance. Lyara, Mara, Reyna, and Sari explained that such storms occurred only once in a millennium. Their ancestors had devised a planet-wide network of spires that emitted stabilizing signals. But the machinery had not been used at full capacity for centuries, and the current generation lacked the necessary experience to handle a crisis on this scale. Panic rippled through the city, for the swirling storm had already wrought havoc in remote regions, leveling entire habitats and threatening agricultural centers. Ethan stepped up, offering Earth's own emergency management protocols. Working closely with Reyna in the city's central observatory, he helped them design a crisis plan. Sari and Mara organized volunteer teams to assist in the spire reactivation, while Lyara coordinated political efforts to calm the populace. In an astonishing burst of cooperation, humans and Xyrans came together in urgency, bridging cultural and personal divides to save a planet teetering on the brink of disaster. Weeks of frenetic work followed. Ethan barely slept, coordinating data with Xyra scientists, adapting Earth's system of remote drones, and conferring with the elders on a strategy to redirect or disperse the storm's energy. The alien women matched his intensity, each drawing upon her unique talents. Mara's fierce organizational skills kept teams functional under the worst conditions. Sari's empathy soothed frightened citizens. Reyna's brilliant mind found solutions to technical hurdles. Lyara, ever dignified, acted as a beacon of hope, rallying the entire planet under her leadership. At last, the day arrived when they would power on the ancient spire network. A hush spread over the city as the final countdown began. One by one, the spires flared to life, each sending a pulse of stabilizing energy into the atmosphere. The crackling clouds overhead churned, lightning dancing in unnatural arcs. For hours, it was uncertain whether the plan would work. Then, slowly, the storm clouds began to thin, their ferocious swirling diminishing into more manageable weather patterns. Cheers erupted across Xyra Prime, a planet saved by the combined efforts of Earth and Xyra, a testament to the power of unity. That night, celebrations filled the city. Music echoed from every tower, and the people sang praises to their saviors. The elders, once skeptical, now regarded Ethan with genuine respect. Lyara, Mara, Reyna, and Sari accepted accolades for their roles in the crisis, but they never failed to mention Ethan, the outsider who had become essential to their success. Not long after the crisis subsided, an even more startling development arose, one that would mark a turning point for Xyra and Earth alike. Lyara was the first to discover it. For several days, she had been feeling unusual sensations, a deep tiredness, waves of emotion she couldn't quite name, and a gentle, persistent fluttering in her core. Xyran physiology was different from humans in many respects, yet certain biological markers aligned closely enough to allow for hybridization, though no one had considered that possibility before. With a sense of urgency and confusion, she visited Reyna in the city's medical research wing. As they conducted scans, analyzing hormone levels and genetic markers, they reached an astonishing conclusion. Lyara was pregnant. DNA analysis revealed that the paternal genetic code carried the unmistakable signature of Earth, Ethan's signature. It was, in many ways, unthinkable. Despite the blossoming relationships, no one had truly considered that a cross-species conception might be possible. Yet here it was. Lyara's eyes shone with a medley of wonder and fear. The same day, in quick succession, similar tests were conducted for Mara, Sari, and Reyna, each of whom had been intimate with Ethan in the preceding weeks. The results were identical. Each woman carried a child that was unmistakably hybrid, half Xyran, half human. Reyna, though stunned, could not hide her scientific fascination. Her mind raced with the possibilities, the meaning of it all. Mara was furious at first, angry at the idea that such a life-altering event had taken place without her having foreseen it. Sari felt a rising panic, overshadowed by a shy delight at the miracle. Lyara struggled to maintain composure, worried about the social upheaval this would cause, but also moved by the emotional significance of carrying the child of a man she had come to admire deeply. Ethan, when told, felt his entire world upend. Fatherhood had never crossed his mind in the context of this diplomatic mission. The realization that 4 pregnancies were now entwined with his fate overwhelmed him. His lips parted in disbelief. He felt a cold shiver of fear, a rush of awe, and the warm current of love that bound him to these women. Though he struggled with how to respond, some primal tenderness welled inside him. He wanted to protect them, to support them, to ensure these unborn children would have a future free from prejudice. News of the pregnancies spread at lightning speed. The entire planet buzzed with whispers and shock. The elders convened in emergency sessions to discuss the implications. Some decried it as an abomination, tampering with natural lines that should never have been crossed. Others saw in it a wondrous sign, an organic union of 2 civilizations previously separated by cosmic distance. Amid the social commotion, Lyara, Mara, Reyna, and Sari made a bold choice. They would stand by Ethan, acknowledging publicly that they had each conceived his child, and that they held no shame in that. A potent mixture of scandal and admiration greeted their declaration. Their families were aghast, yet eventually came to see that the union might be beneficial, bridging Xyra with a new ally, Earth. Ethan, for his part, resolved to remain on Xyra Prime for as long as it took to bring his children into the world. Word reached Earth's Interplanetary Alliance, which responded with cautious optimism. Though no official policy existed for cross-species births, the Alliance recognized a historic breakthrough when it saw one. Quietly, they began adjusting their approach, preparing to honor and support the new bond. The months that followed were at once joyful and challenging. Xyran gestation, Ethan learned, was slightly shorter than that of humans. All 4 women experienced varying degrees of stress, due to the social shockwaves and the unique biology of a half-human fetus. Medical teams from both Xyra and Earth conferred across enormous distances, exchanging data, offering suggestions, performing tests. The children in Lyara, Mara, Reyna, and Sari showed healthy development, with each mother's physiology adapting in fascinating ways. During this period, the bond among the 5 future parents deepened. They comforted one another, overcame each new hurdle side by side. Mara's initial anger dissolved into fierce protectiveness, No one would dare insult her unborn child. Lyara worked tirelessly with the elders, forging a new path for acceptance, employing her diplomatic acumen to quell rumors and calm anxieties. Reyna buried herself in scientific investigation, ensuring that the pregnancies remained stable and that no hidden genetic dangers lurked beneath the surface. Sorry, ever the gentle soul, spent hours with Ethan, talking about the day their children would run through the forests, forging new traditions on a world changed forever. For Ethan, fatherhood loomed large, filling him with a mix of joy and awe. In quiet moments, he would speak gently to the unborn children. He yearned to see them united, bridging two worlds in a way no scientific exchange could achieve on its own. It was, in a sense, the most profound alliance he could imagine. At last, the day arrived when the first of the 4 children was born. Lyara, as the earliest to conceive, went into labor in the quiet hours before dawn. The city's advanced medical chambers glowed with softly pulsating lights, and the gentle hum of support systems filled the air. Ethan stayed by her side, his heart in his throat, holding her hand as she endured waves of pain. With the skillful help of Xyra's healers, and guided by data from Earth's doctors, Lyara bore a daughter, her skin a soft blend of pearl and a pale human tone, her eyes bright with an emerald sheen. She gave a tentative cry, her tiny fists shaking as if to greet a waiting future. Tears flooded Ethan's eyes. Lyara, exhausted, cradled the child, gazing down at her in wonder. This perfect, fragile life symbolized a turning point in history. Through tears, Lyara whispered, "Welcome to Xyra, my little star." In the days that followed, Sari delivered a boy, Mara had a girl, and Reyna gave birth to a boy. Each child exhibited unique traits, a mix of human and Xyran characteristics that astonished the medical community. Some had hair that shimmered faintly in the light. Others possessed eyes that glowed with gentle luminescence. Their genetic potential was a testament to the resilience and adaptability of life across the cosmos. The joy that accompanied each birth spread beyond the families, rippling through the city and across Xyra Prime. Thousands of citizens gathered in public spaces, lighting candles, offering prayers or blessings in their varied traditions. On Earth, news outlets buzzed with word of the cosmic quartet, praising these children as harbingers of a new era of interplanetary cooperation. As the families navigated the first days of parenthood, a surprising outpouring of support emerged. Even former critics found it difficult to harbor resentment while witnessing the vulnerability of these newborn lives. The elders, once aloof, arrived bearing gifts and words of acceptance. A planet that once prided itself on superiority now found itself humbled, discovering that growth and empathy could come from the most unlikely sources. In the months that followed, a robust cultural exchange blossomed between Earth and Xyra Prime, formalized by treaties that recognized the union of the two worlds as not merely scientific or economic, but familial. Diplomatic channels opened wide, and Earth was invited to send more envoys, more researchers, to learn from Xyra's advanced systems of sustainability and integrated biotechnology. Meanwhile, Xyra's curiosity about human literature, philosophy, and art reached fever pitch. Their libraries absorbed entire archives of Earth's cultural history, from ancient myths to modern science fiction, enthralling Xyra's imaginative minds. Ethan, living amid the swirling excitement, found himself welcomed as a friend, not merely a foreign curiosity. He reveled in fatherhood, rotating between the 4 separate households that each mother established for her child. Over time, however, these households became a single, vast communal space, a futuristic complex with connecting corridors, living gardens, and open courtyards. There, each child could play and learn, each mother could share joys and responsibilities, and Ethan could remain present in all their lives. Despite the complexity, the arrangement worked. Xyra's culture did not stigmatize the concept of shared parenting as Earth might have. Instead, many recognized the arrangement as a living embodiment of unity and acceptance. The 4 children, each unique, formed close bonds with one another, united by shared heritage. Sometimes, their delighted coos or laughter in the garden could be heard echoing through the tall crystalline archways, stirring the hearts of visitors. The planet itself seemed to thrive under this new wave of unity. The once skeptical aristocracy now hailing Ethan and the four mothers as pioneers of an unprecedented alliance. In celebration of this new era, Xyra's elders planned a grand festival, a cosmic gala where delegates from Earth arrived in ceremonial craft to witness the official signing of interplanetary accords. The festival took place in the very same domed audience chamber where Ethan had first introduced himself, but now it was lavishly decorated with floating lights, swirling banners, and an uplifting hum of music. Aromatic blossoms floated through the air on slender vines, releasing a soft, sweet fragrance. Ethan stood on the dais alongside Lyara, Mara, Reyna, and Sari, each one holding one of the hybrid children. The children, dressed in simple yet radiant garments, gazed out with wide, curious eyes at the spectacle. Near them were Earth's representatives, stern diplomats who, despite their formal demeanors, could not help but break into smiles as they beheld the affectionate scene. A hush descended as the lead elder stepped forward, holding a tablet that glowed with inscriptions in both the Xyran language and newly translated Earth script. "Today," she proclaimed, "we acknowledge a milestone in our shared history. Two worlds, once separated by unthinkable distance, now stand united, not by conquest, but by love, by mutual respect, and by the blossoming of new life." She presented the tablet for the delegates to sign. Lyara added her graceful mark, followed by Ethan, who felt tears well up as he pressed his signature into the glowing text. One by one, the other mothers added their marks, sealing the treaty. The delegates from Earth followed suit, and in that moment, the audience chamber erupted in applause, cheers, and celebrations. Ethan turned to Lyara, Mara, Reyna, and Sari, each one beaming with pride, the children in their arms gazing at the scene with wide, bright eyes. The elders stepped back, granting the stage to the new family. A swirl of melodic horns and stringed instruments played across the hall, and colored lights rippled across the domed ceiling, depicting scenes of Earth's blue marble spinning beside Xyra's emerald continents. Lyara gently kissed the brow of her child, glancing at Ethan with warmth. Mara gave a gentle laugh, a far cry from her once sarcastic self. Reyna's eyes shone with tears, while Sari hugged her little one close, awash in joy. It was a moment of collective triumph, the official dawn of a partnership that began with mockery, blossomed with respect, and flourished into a love so profound it transcended biological boundaries. Epilogue: A happy new dawn. In the ensuing years, the alliance between Earth and Xyra Prime grew in ways neither world had imagined. Collaborative research projects flourished, addressing mutual concerns such as climate stabilization, sustainable agriculture, and advancements in genetic science. Cultural fairs and arts festivals enlivened both planets, bridging linguistic and aesthetic differences. The four children of this union, Nalia, Lyara's daughter, Orin, Sari's son, Moraine, Mara's daughter, and Auron, Reyna's son, became emblematic of interplanetary harmony. As they grew, it was clear they had inherited the best of both lineages: robust immune systems, intellectual curiosity, emotional warmth, and a deep empathy for all living creatures. Each child was nurtured by a wide extended family, for mothers, a devoted father, and a host of Xyran relatives and human well-wishers. By the time they reached adolescence, they were already bridging scientific and cultural gaps. Nalia displayed a talent for energy manipulation, while Orin dove into Earth's creative arts, blending them with Xyra's mesmerizing performance traditions. Moraine took after Mara's fearless spirit, organizing philanthropic missions to the far corners of Xyra. Auron immersed himself in scientific labs, partnering with Reyna and visiting Earth-based research facilities to cultivate new breakthroughs. In the midst of this bustling exchange, Ethan often found himself in reflective moments, sitting by a serene fountain in the city's central plaza, recalling how, upon first arrival, he had been regarded as a puny, unsophisticated stranger. Now, he was a father of four extraordinary children, a key figure in an alliance bridging two civilizations, and a beloved resident of the planet he once regarded with apprehension. He had defied the narrow expectations placed upon him. He had found a place in the hearts of four remarkable alien women, and together they had shaped a future brimming with hope. Sometimes he would catch a glimpse of Lyara, standing at a balcony overlooking the city, the wind stirring her luminous hair. Or Mara, guiding a demonstration team with her usual confident bearing, her daughter bounding playfully at her side. Or Reyna, lost in scientific reverie within a lab, yet always finding time to embrace Auron and show her maternal devotion. Or Sari, cooing gently to a newly hatched avian creature in one of Xyra's rewilding programs. Orin beside her, both enthralled by the miracle of life. In all these scenes, Ethan saw the fulfillment of a dream he once harbored, a dream of unity, transcending differences. Though interplanetary politics remained challenging at times, with inevitable disagreements and cultural missteps, the knowledge that actual families existed, blending the DNA and traditions of Earth and Xyra, fueled a steadfast desire for peaceful coexistence. The children who bore the blood of both races made it nearly impossible to demonize the unknown. Their mere existence softened hearts, opened doors, and reminded leaders on both sides that they now shared a destiny. Across the star-latticed skies, new possibilities sparkled like distant beacons. It was rumored that other worlds, seeing the unprecedented success of Earth-Xyra collaboration, had tentatively opened communication channels. Xyra's old notion of itself as the apex civilization began to fade, replaced by a sense of belonging to a greater cosmic family, each planet with unique gifts, each with flaws and wonders. Humanity, once riddled by crises, found renewed hope that collaboration might heal old scars, push back the frontiers of understanding, and ensure a stable future not just for Earth, but for its distant allies. And in a modest garden nestled within the swirl of crystalline spires, Ethan and his 4 beloved partners would often watch their children at play, listening as laughter and the promise of tomorrow merged in a gentle symphony. From beyond the horizon, Earth's ambassadors came and went, guided by the shining example of what was possible when arrogance was humbled, when mockery gave way to respect, and when hearts chose love in place of fear. The final chapters of Ethan's personal journey on Xyra were thus steeped in gratitude. He had stepped onto this planet as a solitary envoy, armed only with determination and a willingness to bridge gaps. He had emerged as a husband of sorts to 4 extraordinary women, a father to 4 brilliant children, and an architect of a union that shaped galaxies. In quiet moments, he marveled at how fate had woven this tapestry, how mockery had transformed into mutual admiration, how scorn had yielded to friendship, and how simple kindness had kindled a flame that spread across 2 worlds. In the end, as the sun of Xyra Prime dipped behind rolling emerald hills, painting the sky in shades of lavender and gold, Ethan would often hold hands or share warm embraces with Lyara, Mara, Reyna, and Sari. Watching their children chase one another among the glowing flora, he felt a soaring sense of peace. And though life could be unpredictable, they faced it as a united family. Their story had begun in scorn, but it reached its finale in harmony, a testament to the resilient power of acceptance and the boundless wonder of love in a cosmos of infinite possibilities. And thus, in a universe where destiny could bridge the impossible gulf between 2 stars, they all lived happily ever after, human and Xyran, father and mothers, children of 2 worlds, forever bound by hope, laughter, and the shining grace of a love that knew no boundaries.